Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Speta, joined by 10 Tampa Bay's chief meteorologist Bobby Deskins, and it is a hot July weekend all across the state of Florida. Bobby, how you doing out there? How are you staying cool in Tampa here on a Sunday?
Well, working in the AC on the weekend. That's the thing to do. And, you know, Robert, I know you've probably heard it on social too. It's hot. It's humid in Florida in the summertime, right? Some people are like, we get it.
It is one of those things where I have to I agree with people, yes, and then you kind of have to emphasize what is the difference in this time.
Yeah, and so I think we were just talking before we started here. Tampa, the record high temperature for today, tomorrow, or most of this upcoming week is 97 degrees every day. We're forecasting 97 today and tomorrow might even be warmer than today. And Tuesday is probably going to get very close to that as well too. And you guys in Jacksonville have near record temperatures, right?
Today we are planning on hitting the century mark, which would tie the record set back. And get this, it would tie the record that was set in 1872. Wow. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been a long-standing record. Now, James told me yesterday, one of your meteorologists there at 10 Tampa Bay, Tampa has never hit 100 degrees. Is that true?
I didn't hear what you said. You said it was a little tidbit you wanted to say, but yes, that is absolutely true. The airport, Tampa International, TPA, is where our official readings are for Tampa. We now have some sensors in Ruskin at the Weather Service that they give us every day. But Tampa, the airport, when you see a 7-day forecast and what we forecast for, has never hit 100 degrees. The sensor is sitting on the south end of the runway. It's a north-south runway, and it's sitting on the south end, and the northern part of Tampa Bay, or at least the northeast part, is maybe 2-3 football fields away. Okay, probably about 300 yards or so away, maybe a little bit more, but not by much. And as a result, that sea breeze comes in, and even in the summertime, our water can get 90, I've seen it 93, 94 degrees. But even then, you get a 94-degree breeze off of the water to cool you down once the sea breeze gets going. So that's what saved it. However, Robert, here's the deal, and then you've probably seen this in your locations. There's climate change, right? We're warming. The temperatures are warming. We're measuring that. But part of that rate of warming is urban heat islands, right? And here in the Tampa area, I've talked to the local meteorologists at the Weather Service, and they're saying it's almost half of it. I think we've had about 3-degree warming over the last 30 to 40 years here on average. And about 1.5 degrees of that is climate, and the other 1.5 degrees is the roads that we built. And we just literally widened all the roads just to the south of the airport, right where that sensor is. And then in the last 5 years, they've tore down a bunch of trees that were to the east of it and put parking lot and another parking garage and the rental car facility. So now when you get an east wind before the west sea breeze wind comes in, now it's coming across that extra parking lot, the rental car facility, the other parking garage. So the odds of us getting to 100 just got that much better.
Wow. Well, and, that's something that, if we, especially in Florida, it is more notable because so many people are moving here. There's so much growth that you're right about that urban heat island effect. You know what, Bobby, I want to talk about that real quick here. I'll break down a little bit of the forecast here for Jacksonville, then I'll toss it over to you so you can talk about what's happening there in Tampa as well. But first, I want to start off with this. This is a full graphic. Let's put this on the screen here. We got a full graphic across the entire state. Now, this is going to be for everybody, not just here in Jacksonville or towards Tampa. Look at that, 97. Whew, you are getting hot out there. 100 degrees here in Jacksonville. I mean, come on. That's for your Sunday. As we go over to Monday, still looking at these exceptionally warm temperatures. Relatively cooler on Tuesday. I'm still going for 98. And in fact, here at First Coast News in Jacksonville, at least, we have the weather impact alert in place for all today, tomorrow, and yes, over towards Tuesday. Bobby, if you want to jump in at any point here, feel free.
Yep.
As you were just talking about that urban heat island effect, basically, if anybody's new, if you've never heard of this, as he was just saying, you got all the roads around the airport, right? You got the a blacktop, which absorbs more heat. and then it emits that, and the same thing with buildings. It just causes the areas that are not green, those darker colors, to be hotter. That's simply put. If for anybody at home, if you want to test this, go outside on a sunny day, and if you walk through green grass and then walk onto blacktop, don't do it long. You might burn
Barefoot.
yourself, but you can see a pretty simple kind of way of that. Here's that weather impact alert. Now this is for us here in Jacksonville. I know Tampa also has one in place. Bobby, if you just mind real quick, when's Tampa's for? All right, I'll just
I'm
keep
sorry,
going
buddy.
here.
He was
Oh,
in
so we
my.
got that.
Somebody was in my ear. I couldn't hear what you said. What was that?
Oh, I just wanted to double check on Tampa's weather impact alerts for this week. What's the timing for it?
We are 11 to 7. We're just matching the heat advisory, which last week, by the way, Robert, was 12 to 6. It was last weekend. It's almost carbon copy of what we saw last weekend, but it was 12 to 6, and we're already starting warmer now, so they've made these 11 to 7.
All right. So, and now that's for the heat advisory. One thing we do have here, by the way, is the extreme heat watch. I have not seen this in Jacksonville here since I started here, at least. This is a rarity. We have extreme heat watch. This likely tomorrow is going to be an extreme heat warning. The thing with that is that it means that we could be looking at real field temperatures up to 114 degrees. So check this out. Today we have a record of 100 set back in 1872. Probably going to be tying it. Tomorrow we get up to 100. Now the record is 104. Same year. 1872 must have just been an atrociously hot year in Jacksonville, because that's another record. And then on Tuesday we get the 98, the record being 104. I want to show this real quick, and you can just see all across the state of Florida these darker purples. That means that extreme danger. This is a relatively new graphic from the National Weather Service. That is a 4 extreme, 113 degrees for the real feel there in the purple. So, all right. So this is one thing I want to lead with this.
But Robert, it's always hot in Florida.
It's always hot in Florida. So this graphic right here, Bobby, I'll tell you, this puts it in perspective, because this is when people say it's always hot. If we get 1 degree above our forecast, let's say we're wrong. It's not going to be 100. It's 101. The last time Jacksonville seen that was in July of 2016.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit. I'm going to walk back over here to this camera. Get up on here with you. So
It's been a while.
that's
It's been
a
a while
little run
since we've
through
seen
what's
this
happening
heat.
here in Jax.
Yeah. So let's go to Tampa, because it's not that much different. The one thing is, you guys are over on the ocean. So if you can get an easterly breeze, that's going to make things feel a whole lot better, because the water's a little bit cooler. Our water temperatures, came in this morning at 88. That's at Pier 60, Clearwater Beach, out in the Gulf. But that's probably going to end up being closer to 90, 91 degrees by the time we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday. As we talked about, our weather impact alert is from 11 to 7, because we're covering that time frame where we will have the heat advisory. And that means we're thinking 108 to about 112 is what it's going to feel like. And you can see the areas that have the heat advisory there in orange. Down south, Port Charlotte, down southwest Florida, we may get 108, feels like in Tampa. They're going to get about 106. So technically, they do not reach the criteria, which is 108 or higher. So they do not have the heat advisory. And then, Robert, I did bring yours up too. I lit that pink in there. That's the watch for extreme heat for tomorrow. We are considering that. Now, the Weather Service offices are the ones that issue this. And so just talking with them this morning, they're thinking we might need that in the Tampa area for tomorrow as well, because Monday does look to be one of the hotter days. But we're not the only ones. I mean, look at the eastern half of the United States. Those are all, even Boston, which is wild. They have a high of like 78 today. But then that's going to warm right back up tomorrow. So they were hot, and then they cooled back down. And then you can see that we've got heat advisories all the way up through central Minnesota and southeastern North Dakota. So, it's hot in the deep south across the summertime. We get that, but this is record-breaking stuff. Now, in Tampa,
I was even looking at, was it Columbia or Charlotte? They were getting a high about 105 to 106. Or it just, it makes you happy about our sea breeze, keeps us somewhat from that.
You're right. There's nothing to cool them down. I think Charlotte dropped below 100 degrees yesterday at 10 o'clock p.m.
Wow.
So they were very, very warm. Yeah.
And that's another thing about this. There's just no relief from the heat, too. It's not like a spike in the middle of the day. It's just 100 degrees plus for at least the real feels here as well, from about 10 a.m. all the way up to sunset. So my goodness. Anyways, back to Tampa. So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Got,
my mom lives in Maryland. She's like, I can't stand the heat and humidity down there in Florida in the summertime. I'm like, number one, none of us can. We just learn to live with it, right? We go in the AC. And then number two, we're not as hot as you. We just have the humidity, which it comes for them. It comes in waves, and they get it more than anything else. This is the current temperature right now in the Tampa area. It's 90 already. We got to 90 degrees before 10 o'clock this morning. All right. The difference here, and this is the key, is we're running about 2 to 4 degrees warmer than we were yesterday. All right, and yesterday was really hot. We had heat advisories yesterday. So you put that in with the high dew points in the upper 70s to near 80, and this is what it feels like right now. So Riverview, Bartow, those places already at 108 or better. Got the same thing up in Wesley Chapel, so we're well on our way for that. And then you can see the difference here from your air temp. Look at tomorrow. This is just the GFS automated numbers, and I still use this because it does okay with this. The GFS is broken. I don't know what's wrong with it, but especially tropically, something's not right.
GFS recently feels like it's just been very aggressive sometimes. Way too much. I know the GFS has been a little funky lately.
But these numbers, though, are not that far off. So, we're not going to put them on there unless we think that's pretty legit. But notice the difference there on Tuesday. The actual high may be a little bit lower because we're going to get some extra clouds and showers. Not a whole lot, but more so than what we're going to see the next couple days. But we still briefly, I think, will get to 108. So we're very close as it is. And Robert, here's our version of that as well, too. Really, extreme is what it's showing for Monday and Tuesday, and that's the purple coloring that you're seeing on the map. It breaks down a little bit by Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. A lot of what's happening is we have a great big area of high pressure over top of us, and that has sinking air. And you can see we don't have much in the way of rain right now, and we most likely will not have much rain. But that high is not only sitting out over, let me get my thing here, sitting out over Florida, but it kind of covers this whole area right here. It is sliding a little bit to the west. And so as it does so, our winds aloft will start coming down in this direction here. And that will break it up a little bit so that we'll be able to cool just a touch and to get a little bit of rain. But a north wind and this thing sitting right over top of you in the mid-levels is definitely going to keep us on the cool side. So that's what's driving this, and it's not just us. The difference between Jacksonville and Tampa in this scenario is not much at all. Plus, we've had some dust. You've been tracking that as well, too. That dries out the atmosphere as well. And
also the air quality, if I'm not wrong, across the entire state, it's been exceptionally hazy.
Yeah, and you can notice that in the sunrise, especially in the sunset, but you also notice, I can look out the window now and see it's not the deeper blues that we tend to get before we get those storms popping up in the afternoon. It's a little bit more of a whiter haze, and that's the dust. Now, the core of that dust is starting to move out. It's kind of drifting west across the Gulf of Mexico. There's more coming, but that even looks like to stay mainly to our south. You see how we get in towards the end of this upcoming week. This is Friday, kind of thins out a little bit. Still a couple good plumes. Look at that. That is a lot of Saharan dust for this time of the year.
And for anybody at home, and I think most people across the state of Florida understands what the Saharan dust is, but Bobby, if you want to break it down, just give a quick explainer for anybody. Like, what is this? Is it just, where is this coming from? Obviously, it sounds like Sahara, right?
Yeah, it is. The Saharan desert. Those thunderstorms that kick up over there have a lot of wind, and they literally pick up small pieces of sand and throw it up into the atmosphere, sand and dust. And that actually tends to dry out the atmosphere. Now, it's kind of counterintuitive because you need a little bit of small dust to be the nuclei for cloud droplets to even make rain. But if you get too much of it, especially sand material, that really just dries out the atmosphere. It makes it hot, right? You still get a lot of heat, but you just don't have a lot of lift because it kind of soaks up some of the moisture. And so we look at this, tropically speaking, throughout the year, because if we see a lot of that over the MDR, what we call the main development region, or anywhere, even it doesn't matter, just the Caribbean or the Gulf, we know that it's going to be tougher for storms to form, tropical systems to develop. So that's why we really use this a lot. But because we're here in Florida, we tend to get a lot of that dust over top of us. And sometimes it gets really thick. I mean, Robert, have you ever seen it? You can notice it on the car, like on your windshield, on the hoods of your cars. Yeah.
And I've seen it just where it actually does coat a little layer on there. But another thing a lot of people know it for, and you just hinted at it a second ago, is beautiful sunrises and beautiful sunsets, right? Because there's that more refraction in the atmosphere, just like on a smoky day where the sunsets are this bright red.
I'm the other way around. I don't get that. We get the brighter ones from the high cirrus clouds, the high thin stuff aloft. The sun angle gets down and just the red and the orange colors refract around because they have a longer wavelength, right? But to me, I always, and it's kind of a Star Wars thing, so half the people aren't even going to get it, but it reminds me of Tatooine when you have dust. Or wherever Skywalker lived, right? It's like two suns off in the distance. Like last night, it was coming across the bridge at the sunset, and you could clearly just look right at the sun on the horizon because there was so much dust there that it literally filters it out. So it's not the brightest, the most colorful. I think it's kind of muted, but it will expand a little bit more. It is yellows and oranges, but not like I just think it's the other way around sometimes. So I tell people to send pics.
I'm going to steal that, and I'm going to use that, because I'm laughing. Just the geek in me is like, that's it. That's the best exclamation. That's the best description of it. It is Tatooine on sunset.
Your social media is really good. So I'm going to let you do the work on that one and make something cool, and then I'm going to share. So
all right.
I'll be keeping an eye on that one. Our forecast model doesn't show a whole lot of rain. We're not going to get a bunch, but there will be a few. This is this afternoon, and then they'll come back. Robert, are you guys getting any rain today?
Oh, no, everything's going to stay out towards our west. We do have a 20% chance, because just like yesterday, we had these little cumulus going to towering Q, and then it would fall, but you could tell it was more or less like the atmosphere was strangling the cloud. And it was just, the dryer was eating it out, and it's going to be very similar to that again today, too, here.
So weather impact alert, guess what? It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. All of that. We could show you a bunch of pictures and charts and graphs, but at the end of the day, spend some time indoors in the middle of the day if you can. That's our weather impact alert. It's actually going to be 11 to 7. The boating here, is so different. Our boating versus yours. I mean, 1 to 2 foot seas, you guys would love it. We're usually 1 footers. So seeing a 2 on there is like,
comfortable.
And the wind's not bad, but you notice as we get through the afternoon hours, I'm going to stop it here right around 1 to 2 o'clock. It starts to pick up a little bit, especially if folks are out on the Gulf. But you see that UV index is an 11. And that's our rain forecast. It's not a whole lot more. To me, and I think Jacksonville's probably the same, it looks like the state gets back to more normal rainfall pattern by Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and I agree. In fact, I got a graphic here just showing the broader upper air pattern, because I think the big thing that we're going to be looking at is at the very least this as this high moves towards the west, that troughing that's going to ridge in behind it. I know that's something you kind of hinted at a second ago here too, is basically as it goes off. And there's actually, Kenzie, our director upstairs, you mind throwing this on the full screen? Let's just show this here. I'll just give an idea. So as that high goes towards the west, that trough sets up towards the east. Now, I do want to ask you, Bobby, and this is just a meteorologist to meteorologist kind of question here, analyzing this. I know some of the models, and you were just talking about how the GFS has been, a little bit. The GFS a couple days ago was trying to pull a tropical system out of that, kind of very similar to Chantal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm kind of big picture right now because Chantal was one that went up to the Carolinas, right? And then we had 93 start east of Jacksonville and then come across and then try and get up into Louisiana. It never did anything. It just became moisture. That moisture did a loop-de-loop, went up over northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, came right back down, became 94, trying to come across into Texas. Did the same exact thing. And it's totally understandable because weather patterns tend to repeat themselves and we're stuck in that pattern. I think that's starting to break down a little bit, and there's some good and some bad with that because I think it's going to affect the tropics just a little bit. Like, this is a great graphic here. This is this Thursday, and that troughiness is still to the north, but it looks like now when that moisture comes back down, because this is going to do something very similar, but instead of coming back down over Jacksonville, it looked like it wanted to come back down maybe to the west, maybe the western panhandle, and that suggests an overall shift in that upper level trough that's been sitting up and down the East Coast, maybe retrograde, what we call it, which means it's moving from east to west, and then letting that ridge of high pressure, the Bermuda high, build back in as we head towards the weekend. And that's why we think that the rainy pattern will get back to normal, because that's what really controls it, where that high pressure off to the east of us is.
And that normal pattern being those standard afternoon kind of
Yes.
showers and thunderstorms, right?
Yeah.
I've been seeing something very similar to that, and because a lot of people have been asking me, you know, the weather watchers, the at-home forecasters, looking at some of those 300-hour model runs and going, "Hey," and I'm like,
we're all going to
"Take a
die
deep
in a
breath
week and a
here."
half.
Right? So,
Like, no,
not seeing that.
Yeah, I'll show you a 7-day forecast, and you won't believe day 7 because it's Saturday and you got your kid's birthday party and we got rain on it. But if somebody shows you a 14-day forecast that there's going to be a huge hurricane, you're sold. It's like, come on.
Exactly. A million likes.
A million likes.
So what are we looking at here? The 7-day outlook officially from the National Hurricane Center doesn't have anything at this time, right?
Right. And it changes, right? It fluctuates. They'll update this. But the change that I'm seeing, and I'm going to just use the Euro model here. All right, this is surface pressure. What we're watching, and we're going to be watching, and you can do too, right here, this area here. This is today. So I'm going to run this out to about Thursday. And what we're going to start to see now are some waves. First of all, this water has warmed a little bit. It's been running cool. That's the MDR, the main development region. All right, it's been running cooler than normal. But it's warmed up a little bit in the last few weeks. It's supposed to warm up a little bit in the last few weeks. That's the time of the year. However, it's warmed up at a faster rate than it normally does. Okay, so that would argue that we should probably start watching this, because warm water is like gasoline for a fire. It's not going to make a fire, but if you get a spark over gasoline, you might get something going. These storms that come off of Africa, they've been fairly low so far this year. That does not translate into storms making it all the way across. They go to the south, they get near the equator. They have shifted further to the north and are coming off of Africa further to the north. So that argues, hey, we're getting into that part of the season where we start watching these long track storms that form way out here, and the ingredients are coming together to kind of make some more of those. Now, what the colors are we're showing you here is high pressure in green, low pressure in yellow. All right, so if you had a storm forming, you'd see something like this out here. All right, so let's go out to Thursday and look at that green. Look at that high pressure, right? That is extending. It actually, at times, it extends all the way out here. That's why we're saying we get back to those rainy season patterns, because that's a southeast wind. Storms start here and blow over to the west coast in the afternoon, okay? Now watch what happens as we get towards this upcoming weekend. Look at that thing erode. So, I'm going back out here to Thursday. This, somewhere in here, the models are saying something tries to develop. Could be weak, we don't know yet, but that's the middle of this week. That's when you really want to check back with Robert and I and see what's going on, okay? Now, let's go out to Sunday and then to Monday. Now, the reason why we're even talking about this is because everybody online is saying we're having the Euro AI is bowling ball in Miami and coming across with the system. I look at it and I see that this door is opened up here. Because look how much that ridge is broken down. Here's where the ridge is right now. This is Tuesday coming up. So storms will float like a bobber around these big ridges. They're not going to go right into it. They're going to float around it. All right. And with this ridge,
yeah, what I like to use is like water flowing in a valley down a hill. Water's never going to flow uphill.
That's
Anyways,
exactly
go on,
right.
Bobby.
Great point. Love that. Yes, and that would be uphill, so it's going to funnel right through here, right? Makes sense. That's Tuesday. That's a week from today. Look at the difference. See where the ridge is now, but look at it really break down. To me, that opens up the door for anything that forms out here to potentially recurve, be a fish storm. And if you look at the European ensembles, which I can't show you here, it's got a bunch of the runs think. One thinks it's here, one thinks it's here, one thinks something's here, one thinks. They're opening the door. Can it come all the way over to Florida? Yeah. Can it get into the Gulf? Sure. But those chances, I think, are actually relatively slim, Robert. So it's something to watch, but certainly nothing that we need to worry about. And again, I just think that's a better idea, that it can open up that door to get east of Florida.
So I think the big takeaway is, because I think if somebody just looked at that graph, if you're going to go, well, hey, Bobby said there's a hurricane. No, but the pattern is changing to be more conducive for tropical activity, which is, which, let's be honest, it's late July heading into August. We're starting to get to the peak of hurricane season, which is in September. So
90% of the activity is August 1st through November 30th. So we're actually, we've had 3 named storms. We usually only have 2 by this time. So we're not supposed to have a lot of storms. We've been getting used to it the last several years because we've seen so much.
Yeah, because somebody actually reached out to me and even said, it's been quiet. I'm like, not really. Like, you're just so used to the obnoxious seasons we've gotten recently. But, hey, we're always going to keep you posted here, though, at First Coast News 10 Tampa Bay. We got our Hurricane Centrals always updating out there.